Welcome back to the FocusPuller Guru. My name is Godfrey Klukbeil, and I've been a first AC or focus puller for over 30 years. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about all the gear that I use on set. Now, the gear I use on set is very important as it helps me do my job properly. So we're going to go through the main pieces and then we'll go through all the other accessories. So the main piece that I use is my monitor. So this is a small HD 1303 monitor, and that's my kind of main monitor. I also have a secondary monitor, a TV Logic 058W. And the reason I have two monitors is on my main monitor, I have the full image of everything that's going on. And the secondary monitor, I end up zooming in, usually into like the face or whatever, so I can do critical focus for their eyes. So that's why I have two monitors. So the next piece of gear that I use is the Preston. And this is the Preston handset, the Hand Unit 4. And this works with three different pieces to make the whole Preston system work. So you've got the Hand Unit 4, and then you've got, this is the MDR3, which is kind of like the brains, and it sits on the camera itself. And then you have the motors, and you can have up to actually 4 different motors with this, but we'll just talk about one right now. So the motor sits on the camera and is connected right to the lens, and this sends out a cable to the motor, and this connects directly with the hand unit. And how it works is, as I turn the hand unit, this motor turns the physical lens. And so I have to, ahead of time, like in prep, I have to line up all the markings so that, 10 feet will line up to 10 feet on the lens. And I have to make sure that all markings are lined up properly. And after doing that, as I turn the hand wheel on the Hand Unit 4, it'll also turn the motor and move the lens to the corresponding mark as well. So that's how the Preston system works. The reason you have multiple motors is one motor will go on the focus, one motor on the iris, and then you could put a third motor on the zoom. So that gives you 3 motors, plus a 4th motor can be used if you needed to put it on a filter wheel, let's say like a polarizer needed to put a motor on, or for whatever other reason you needed to have a 4th motor on. That's why it gives you 4 channels for that. That's kind of the main thing with the Preston that I utilize. And then the last piece of gear is the Light Ranger 2. The Light Ranger 2 is pretty much 2 pieces. So this is the Light Ranger 2 wide sensor that goes on the camera. And then here we have the Light Ranger 2 video interface, which connects the information of this into the whole monitor system. So how this works is the Light Ranger 2 has 2 little windows, and one which sends out 16 different infrared beams, and the other sensor actually receives the bouncing back of these beams, and it's able to determine the distance. So I'm using like feet and inches. So if there's an actor who walks up, this will read the distance and then send it back through the video interface and onto the screen. And because there's 16 different zones, I'm able to really see all the different placements of the distances within the frame. And if I'm able to need to focus between one actor to another actor, I have those distances, I'm able to shift that back and forth. So that is the 3 main components. I do have to say that on my focus station or focus tree, I do have a receiver, a video receiver, box video receiver. And that's how we transmit the picture from the camera to the receiver to send the video image into the monitors to make that work. So I wanted to go through all the pieces in the cases. So pretty much we've got the MDR3, and then we have 3 different pouches of cables. So the red pouch of cables is for the power. So you've got all the different power cables to connect up the MDR3 to the camera and power it up. You have the green pouch, which has all the motor cables to connect up the MDR3 to each motor through the motor cables. And then the last pouch, which is the blue pouch, this is the run-stop cables. And you'll connect up the MDR3 directly to the camera in its RS port in order to start and stop the rolling of the camera. So that's what the 3 pouches are for. We also have all these different discs that go on the Hand Unit 4. They are almost like gears in a car. You know how you've got first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear? It's almost like that. So the A disc is kind of like your highest speed, your first gear, and it basically will go from infinity to like a really close distance, like 9 inches. So it'll go to like super, super close, right? But that one turn of this wheel will turn the entire lens. And so on some zooms, that's like almost 2 rotations. So it goes very, very fast. Then I'll compare that. There's a B, C, D, and even E disc. Now the E disc is if you're on, let's say, like a really long lens, like a 200 mil or a 300 mil, and its minimum focus is something like 6 feet or 7 feet. Then you would use the E disc. And so the E only uses the range. The closest marking on the E disc is 6 feet. So from 6 to infinity. So when you turn this, the lens doesn't turn nearly as fast compared to, let's say, the A disc. So that's how that works. So I just have the other 2 motors for the Preston, for both the iris and for the zoom, as well as the focus. And then another part of the Preston is the wireless zoom control, the Microforce Digital 2. And that connects up if you have a zoom lens on your camera and you need to zoom in, zoom out. You have control with this. A lot of times this goes on to the O'Connor head that the operator is using, and then the operator will actually do the zooming in the shot while the focus puller is concentrating on the focus. But every once in a while, like I can connect this up directly to the camera, or I can connect it up into the hand unit 4. Sometimes, if needed, I can either do the zoom at the same time as the focus, or pass this off to another assistant, and the other assistant will do the zoom, I'll do the focus, and the operator will operate. So that's how that works as well. So another piece of the whole Preston system is the, they call it the focus iris control. And this is primarily used just for iris. So this connects up with the system because then this will take replacement of iris control being done from the hand unit 4 and break it off separately. So a lot of times this stays back with the director of photography, let's say at the DIT station, and then the director of photography will be able to set their stop independently from wherever my hand unit is. So you know, we talked about how one of these motors is connected up to the iris. I can dedicate that through the system to only go to this hand unit, and then this hand unit just alone will control the iris, and then I will control the focus completely separately. So that's what this is, the focus iris unit as well. So in regard to the MDR3, you need to mount it onto the camera somehow. And so what I've done is I've added a cheese plate here with a 16:9 quick release, and that can screw into one of the mounts on the camera, depending if you're using, let's say, the Arri 35 or using a red camera or something like that. I do have other mounts. So this is another mount that I have. You can mount this off of the top bracket and mount this MDR3 underneath. So there's just various different mounts to be able to mount it on the camera. You can mount it on the side of the camera. You can mount it on the back of the camera. So there's like various different ways to get this on the camera. And then of course you're gonna have to do all your cable management to get your motor cables to the motors in the front, and then get your on-off into the RS port of your camera, and then Light Ranger plugs into the serial port on the MDR3. Also behind me, I have my front box, my wooden front box, and it's got a lot of little bits and a lot of little tools, so I'm going to talk about that on another video. So this gives you a bit of an overview of the type of gear that I would go to set with these days. Now, when I started back about 30 years ago, there was only the Preston 1, you know, the hand unit 1. It was a lot different than this. And back then, everything that was done with measuring tape. And now, of course, we've got the focus tools. You know, we went from Panatape to Cinetape, and now with the Light Ranger 2. So everything has kind of slowly evolved, but these are the tools that I use today. And I hope that gives you an overview. And please leave comments or any questions you have about any tools that I've shown or any tools you've heard of. And I look forward to hearing from you. And please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.